Hello Abnormal Family, good to see you all again. We're going to do a Monday drop on this video. I think you all are going to really enjoy it. I know it sounds like a really good one to me, and I think I'm going to enjoy this one also. Just wanted to let you all know that our YouTube channel is now growing at a pretty fast pace thanks to you guys, and our Facebook page. If you have not joined the YouTube page though, I would suggest that you join it because we're not going to be streaming to Facebook no more, so you'll be missing videos. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube, I would like to invite you to do that. Also, if you would like to support Hunter, it's still bringing Hunter home now. The links are in the description to where you can do so. Also, our P.O. box is there also for people that want to send him gifts. Have been asking about sending gifts for his late Christmas. Let's get into this one. My name is Sally. Back in 1986, when I was 15, my father was a state trooper in the Deep South. I do not want to disclose the state because my father was a well-known and well-respected peace officer in his day. He was assigned to a rural outpost and was responsible for hundreds of miles of state highway covering a lot of hills and forest areas, so my mother and father decided to rent a small house, more like a wooden shack, nearby his highway patrol station. Rather than live in the city and have Dad come home every other week, the house was off the main highway and at the end of an old logging road. The house was surrounded by deep dark woods on all three sides. The nearest neighbors were miles away. We were out in the middle of nowhere. It was an old one-story wooden two-bedroom house, not as nice as our sturdy as a log cabin. In back of the house was a small stand-alone narrow wooden structure. The landlord said it was built as a small barn, but it could be used to store the car, a sort of makeshift garage. The house was not much to look at, but the price was right for my dad. Cheap. This house was so off the beaten path that we did not have telephone service. My dad left my mother and I with a walkie-talkie tuned in to the state police band in case of an emergency. The house barely had lights and running water. Everything seemed to be broken or on the verge of breaking down. We also had no trash pickup, so we either had to burn our trash or take it into the town and dump it there. My dad decided to burn our trash to prevent the possibility of a forest fire. He placed cages over the barrels. My father would be gone most nights and get back around 6 in the morning. My mom and I fell into the habit of sleeping together in my parents' bedroom because my mother did not like sleeping alone, so I would sleep onto the floor. One night, a week or so after we first moved in, I got up to use the restroom around 3 in the morning, when I heard what sounded like somebody mumbling outside, coming from the garage. I put my ear back to the wall of the house to listen to the mumbling. Then all of a sudden it just seemed to stop. I only heard an owl hooting in the distance. I just turned to bed without giving it a second thought. The next morning I told my mom what I heard, and she just dismissed it as the wind whistling. A few weeks later, my father was getting home from a late-night patrol when he was parking his car in the garage. As he pulled in, he noticed the trash bags had been stored in the back of the garage had been torn apart and scattered all over the garage floor. I remember it distinctively because I was the one that had to clean it up. My dad said it must be raccoons or some other type of scavenger. My dad's solution to this was buying 2 new aluminum trash cans from the hardware store in town. He instructed my mom and me to put all the trash in the trash bag first, then put it in the can and close the lid tight. He claimed this would keep the raccoons from smelling the garbage and they would not come into the garage looking for food. My dad had to take his car to the service in town and had to leave it there for a few days. So the trash started to pile up and it smelled mighty bad. A day or two later, my mother discovered that the cans had been tipped over and the trash had been rummaged through again. My mom complained to my father, and he finally decided to install a lock on the wooden doors of the garage. On the following Wednesday night, it was around 11. Mom and I had just finished watching a movie on TV, and we decided to go to sleep. She told me to take the trash out to the garage and gave me the key to the lock. I grabbed the trash bag and from the kitchen while Mom walked into her bedroom and started to change into her nightgown. The house only had a front door, so you had to walk out the door and then turn right to go around to the side of the house, then walk about 20 feet to the garage. I started to turn the corner and stopped dead in my tracks at what I saw next. I saw a large, dark, and hairy figure standing with its back to me, and it was in the doorway of the garage. It looked like a gorilla, but stood upright on two legs. I heard a loud mumbling like human speech coming from this thing. It suddenly turned, like it became aware of me, and it stared right at me. I could not make out any facial features, but it was two eyes, and I could see those eyes because they reflected in the moonlight, so bright like you've never seen, like a dog or a cat's. I let out a scream, dropped the bag of garbage, turned and ran back to the house. As I shut the door, I heard a big, hard bang from the garage. My mom ran into the living room and asked what was going on. I heard you scream, and I told her that there was an intruder breaking into the garage. She quickly went to the nightstand by the bed and grabbed the walkie-talkie and my dad's spare service revolver. Mom then radioed the state police dispatcher and reported the break-in. Then my mom grabbed me by the hand, and we locked ourselves into the hall closet. We both sat there in the dark, quiet and scared. A highway patrol car came within about 20 minutes. My dad was on the auto accident call, miles away, down the highway. The two troopers first made sure Mom and I were okay, and then they looked around the property. The tall trooper came back first, who quickly mentioned that my dad was a fellow state trooper. He said that the door had indeed been forced open and the lock had been broken. There was nothing but turned over trash cans and garbage everywhere. Next, the trooper pulled out his black notebook and wanted to take my statement. I hesitated at first. When I got the part to the big black hairy man thing on two legs, my mom turned with a shocked look and said, "You didn't tell me that part." That's when the other trooper ran back into the house, pulled the tall trooper aside, and started to whisper to him. I heard him say, "There are two sets of tracks." The tall trooper said, "Better get on the radio to dispatch and tell them we have arrived on the scene and are investigating." The other trooper then ran back outside to use the car radio. The tall trooper set us down and said that he officially was not supposed to tell us this, but since my dad was a trooper, he thinks that we should know the truth. This was probably a Bigfoot looking for food. Y'all know what a Bigfoot is? The trooper asked. My mom said, "Well, I think so." I just nodded my head yes. My partner found two sets of different sized tracks behind your place. I felt hair on the back of my neck stand straight up. The mumbling must have been it communicating to the other Bigfoot already in the garage. My God, can they communicate? I felt sick. We get a lot of sightings of those things all up and around these parts. As far as we can figure, they seem to be wandering down from the national park. Now don't ask me where these things are. I don't know. Sometimes these things are harmless and sometimes they are dangerous. Trust me, this place is not safe for the two women to be left alone. I don't recommend you stay here. They probably will be back. The next day my dad told us that he confirmed what the trooper told us the night before, and that these things do exist and are roaming all around this area. He would hold his sergeant and talk to him many times over this, and they would mention the word Bigfoot or monster again. And the sergeant told him, "We can never mention this again." My father said he had radioed to the higher-ups, and that was the order that it came down, that they were not supposed to talk to that again. He was ordered by his superiors to tell people that any suspicious, unexplainable activity was to be blamed on wolves, cougars, or bears, or a prowler. Mike, these things are hidden, and we are told, even in the law enforcement, my dad said, to call these things anything rather than what they are. So yes, you guys are right when you talk on your show and say that there is cover-ups. They are taught to cover it up, and the orders are sent down by the superiors to do so. I wanted to share this with you guys because I think it's important that people know what's really out there. I think that's a very interesting encounter. This comes out of Oklahoma, but they did not want to give the location. But I think it's I think a lot of law enforcement probably have encounters. I've seen a lot of it on YouTube. And we know there's things out there that's unexplainable. And I think that the food smell probably is what lured them up there. So if you guys do have trash like that, try not to let it gather up like that to where the smell gets out, or you're just asking for trouble because they sense an easy meal and they're going to come. Until next time, guys, keep your head on a swivel, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for your support. And don't be something's dinner.